Hi, how are you doing today? We're doing another reading vlog. Somewhere last year, I did a reading vlog in which I read 3 fantasy romances just because I was in the fantasy romance mood. I had some fantasy romances on my TBR, and I read 3 books in that video. And I think I gave all 3 of them 3 stars, but I still wanted to continue in their series. And now it's like almost a year later, and I have not done that. So I thought I'd do a follow-up video to that one, just reading the sequels to those books, and that's what we're gonna be doing today, and hopefully this will be successful. So the 3 books that I will be reading in this video is A Strange Hymn by Thalassa, which is book 2 in the Bargainer series. Then we also have The Traitor Queen by Danielle Jensen, which is book 2 in the Bridge Kingdom series. And this one also, like, that series is made out of 3 duologies. Each kind of duology follows a different couple, but like they're all set in the same world and have an overarching like fantasy plot. And this is the conclusion to that first duology as well. So it's like a conclusion in a way to the story, so that's interesting, even if there's more to come. And then lastly we have A Crown of Gilded Bones by Jennifer Armentrout, which is book 3 in the From Blood and Ash series. I read book 2 in that previous video, so now I have to read book 3, and this one has been on my TBR for quite some time. So yeah, it's also a big one, chunky, intimidating, so I need to get to this one. I need the push. So I'm glad that I'll be getting that push in this video. And yeah, these are the 3 books I will be reading. Okay, I just finished The Witch Kingdom by Danielle Jensen, and I was gonna update you every quarter of the way through this book, but then I got to quarter 1. I was like, I have nothing to say. I got to the halfway mark, and I still had nothing to say. And then towards the 3rd quarter, I was like, I hate this book. So I finished it. I'm gonna talk to you about my misery, because honestly, I said I'm gonna talk to you about my misery, but I still feel like I can't tell you a lot about this book because nothing happened in this. Zero until like the very end, and if I go into that, that's heavy spoilers, so I'm not gonna do that. But I give this 1 star because it wasn't obvious. I just really wasn't having a good time with this book, which is a shame because this was actually the book I was most excited for this video, because The Bridge Kingdom, even though it was a 3 star, I did really like the fantasy storyline in that book. The romance I just wasn't completely sold on, so I was really excited to continue on with this, especially because I've heard so many great things about the series, just like in general. And this just, I don't know, I thought it was really bad. It was really boring, almost nothing happened in it. Just fantasy story wise, it was really boring, very predictable. What did happen, like the conclusion at the end, like the final big battle, let's say, was over in like the snap of a finger. It just felt so anticlimactic and like let down, and I just was not a fan of it. And then on top of that, I feel like the author kind of forgot about the romance bit of the fantasy romance of this genre. We got almost 0 character development, character progression. Our 2 main characters don't spend a whole lot of time together, and just everything from the romance department is just completely gone. And I was so incredibly bored reading this book, and my mind kept wandering off to other things, and it took me so much longer to read this book than it should have because of that, because my mind just was not in it, because it just rejected it. And I honestly did consider DNFing this book, but I decided against it because I am intrigued enough to maybe perhaps give book 3 a chance, because I have all the different couple and they are kind of sort of set up in this book, and I am just a little bit intrigued with that, and with how everyone loves this series, I'm curious. Hi, so I'm quarter of the way through A Strange Hymn by Thalassa, which is book 2 in the Bargainer series, and honestly, I don't remember too much of my thoughts on the first book, besides the fact that the main romance gave me an ick. So going into this one has been fun. I do remember the plot of that first book, for those who read. But going into this one has been fun because I feel like I'm not going in with too many preconceived notions. Because I said I don't really remember my thoughts on it. I remember giving it a 3 star. But so far, I don't know how to feel about it yet, actually. I'm not hating it. I'm still, the romance still gives me such an ick. I'm not even buying it, because I feel like when it comes to our main character, Callie, I feel like she's just in it for the sex. Like, I genuinely don't see any like romantic feelings coming from her side, and then on the love interest side, of course, we're not in his actual head, so we don't know like his reasoning behind anything or something. But I do feel like dialogue wise, he does sometimes like say or like does things that make me think that he does genuinely like care for her. But then like also they're just the way they are involved with each other, with kind of like her owing him things and his magic kind of like forcing her to do things when he wants to, like repay debts, like that whole situation just makes so many of these things so icky. Like I don't know, I don't care that he says that he wants to get to know her better, and but if he's like using magic to make sure that he's answering like fully, like truthfully, even to bounds that she doesn't want to talk about, that just, I don't know, that makes me uncomfortable. Sue me, I guess. But then when it comes to the plot, I am intrigued by it because I do think this Fae world is very dark. Like in a way, a lot of Fae fantasy romances claim to be dark. This one is, and the storyline is deeply disturbing in some ways. So I am very intrigued by all of that, and I wish we just got a bit more of that and less romance. Hi, so I am halfway through A Strange Hymn by Thalassa, and I feel like we are finally starting to get into like the plot of it all. We are in a different section of the Fae world now, and I think it's very interesting to kind of see that going on. And I think we're getting into the politics between like the different courts as well, and that's gonna be intriguing. We also just from the last book, some things have been coming up, and I'm intrigued to see how that's gonna evolve. I still don't like the romance at all, but we are getting into the thick of the plot, I think, hopefully, and I do think that's really interesting, so I'm vibing with that at least. Okay, so I am 3/4 of the way through The Strange Hymn. Look at that progress. This is where I'm at. This is where the book ends. The rest is like preview for another book and stuff. The plot is definitely moving in an interesting direction. We're doing some interesting stuff with it. I definitely at this point where we are, I feel like something has been introduced that kind of complicates things a little, and I do think it's interesting. But again, like the main focus of this book is still the romance, and I still don't like that. Hi, so I finished A Strange Hymn by Thalassa, as I told you I was going to. I don't have that much more to say about this book that I haven't said already. It's a 3-star. This was a very quick, engaging read. I flew through it, had a fun time reading it. I think the plot and the world is really interesting. I just wish we spent a little more time on it instead of on the romance, which I think is shite. But for the rest, I had a really fun time. And actually, I thought I gave the first book a 3-star as well, but I just went to look at my review for the first book and I gave it 2 stars, so technically it got better, which who would have thought. So you know, I'm very happy with this conclusion. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest with you, this video was supposed to go up last month, and the only reason it didn't is because I've been dragging my feet on reading Crown of Gilded Bones by Armentrout, which is the 3rd book in the From Blood and Ash series. I read book 2 for last year's video, so that would be great to continue on this series, especially because I also own the first book in a spin-off series. So I have been meaning to get through this and just catch up with the series for like quite a long time. But I'm 32 pages into this book and I just do not care anymore. I really enjoyed From Blood and Ash when I read it. I did think it was way too long for what it was, but I enjoyed it. And then book 2, I don't even remember what rating I gave it, but I remember being quite bored by it, and just like I don't remember anything that happened in that book even. And just starting this, I just found myself glossing over the pages already, and it just, I don't know, it's doing nothing for me. So I'm not gonna officially count this as a DNF because I feel like I did not get into this properly enough, but I am gonna be taking off this book of my TBR as well as this one, which is A Shadow in the Ember, I believe. So yeah, that's also gonna be the end of this video because of that. So would I say this video was successful? Not really. I mean, I did really like A Strange Hymn. more than I expected, and I'm very excited to continue on with that series. But for the rest, I would call this video a massive failure, and it's probably really boring as well, so I apologize. But you know, I had to do it. I had to try at least. But there you go. Sometimes this is just the way life goes, you know. Sometimes it really is. So yeah, I was gonna say if you read any of these books, let me know in the comments what you thought of them. But I don't think there was much to discuss after today's video. But still, if you have something to say, definitely feel free to say it in the comments. And then hopefully I'll see you around the next time with hopefully a much better reading vlog, because this one kind of sucked.